Well, today everybody, in this video, I'm going to be talking to you guys about how I use music theory in low tunings. Let's get into it. So what is going on, everybody? Thank you so much for joining me for today's video. My name is Ray. I'm a guitar player here on YouTube, and I've been on a quest and on a journey to try my very best. Oh, I'm rhyming. I'm trying my very best to dissect and break down music theory to all of you guys, and especially the people who love to play the genre of music that I love to play, that is metal. Metal is one of the only genres where you can actually kind of get... Metal and hard rock are really the only genres that you can kind of get away with not really knowing any theory and still kind of make a career out of it. But since you clicked on this video, you probably want to learn about music theory in some capacity, and I'm going to be doing my very best to bridge the gap of music theory and taking a standard tuned guitar and then reapplying everything I'm going to be talking about and then putting it on a drop tuned and or down tuned fretboard and go from there, okay? Cool. All right, here we go. So this guitar right here, this Les Paul, is tuned to standard tuning. Standard tuning is not the heaviest and the coolest thing to play in metal, but it is just the standardized, uniform, starting point for all music theory that is taught on a guitar. I was somebody, just like a lot of people that have come across when I'm doing lessons privately, like where they'll feel as though they don't really need to know standard or don't want to learn standard because it's not inspiring, it doesn't have that low tune sound that we like as metal fans, right? I totally get that, and I've been there, many times, and I still kind of am to this day, but I am trying my very best to convey the importance of just knowing a standard tuned guitar's fretboard, because once you learn that and master that, everything else falls into place. Doesn't matter if it's a drop tune, down tune, 6 string, 7 string, 8 string, doesn't matter. It's all the same thing, okay? Cool. I hope that gives you a little bit of positive reinforcement and or hey, you got this type of mentality, okay? All right, let's get started. So I try my very best to have the standard guitar's fretboard mastered. I don't, but I'm trying my very best, and I practice it almost on a daily basis, just trying to play in standard in some familiarity and some capacity, because what I found out, I didn't invent this or come up with this, but just what I found out through my own discovery and through my own journey is that the relationship between the notes and the intervals and the patterns and, all the above, the scales, the chords, once you have them mastered in standard tuning, when you down tune and or drop tune, the shapes stay the same. The only thing that changes is the literal pitch and or note, because common sense, self-explanatory, you're down tuning. What I'm trying to do here in this video is explain this. I'm going to be very clear about it. Once you mastered standard tuning, everything falls into place, no matter if it's drop B, drop C, C sharp standard, C standard, all the above, okay? Promise you guys, once you get this down, mastered, everything else is relatively easy because the shapes are the same. So, example 1, you take your standard tuned guitar and you play 2.5 octaves of A major. Then to finish out that scale and just keep going up, it would be... etc. Bunch of A's all over the place on this fretboard. A little out of tune, there we go. Yeah, so anyway, just familiarizing myself and you guys with all the A's on the fretboard. All I did was just played several octaves of A after playing the A major scale. Stops there. Stops there again. And stops there again. So there's in this shape, this 3-note per string shape, and then extending it up the fretboard, there's A's all over the place, okay? So I'm just using A major as an example because 1, it's my favorite key signature, I think, but also 2, I'm just letting you guys know that once you have this shape down of A, if you don't want to play in standard tuning anymore, let's say I'm going to use my handy dandy drop pedal. Let's say we want to go to E flat standard. Now, what was once A major now just becomes A flat major because we've gone down. So, let's keep going down with this trend. Now, let's say I keep going down on my drop pedal, and now I am in D standard. I'm now just playing whatever this scale is in D standard. And now when I say whatever scale this is, off the top of my head, I don't have it memorized. I just think in the way my brain thinks is that I'm still playing an A major scale, even though putting 2 and 2 together using my drop pedal, I'm down 2 semitones a whole step. So this would technically be G major. So keep going. I'm gonna go all the way down to, let's see, D standard, C sharp standard. Yeah, C sharp standard. Hell yeah, I love C sharp standard. It's one of my favorite standard tunings of any guitar. But anyway, if I play that same A major scale shape, again, I still view that as A major in my head and in my brain. I could keep going and just keep altering the tuning and just keep going down the rabbit hole, but I'll end it there. But what I'm trying to convey in this video, and the first part of this video so far, is that once I have standard tune, scale patterns, riffs, chords, all the above, once I familiarize myself with standard tuning, I know where everything else falls into play in relationship, say, to A major, whatever key signature I'm in. Because going back to standard tuning land, not using the drop pedal, right? Now we're back up to standard. I know, for example, in A major, the relative minor is F sharp minor. Play that scale all the way through. That's my relative minor. F sharp minor has the same notes as A major: A, B, C sharp, D, E, F sharp, G sharp, and A. It's just played in a different order. Anyway, if I was to do like a quick little, I don't know, improvisation between those two spots, just a simple nothing melody, but it's the start of something, and I'm bridging the gap between my relative minor and my major by just, memorizing the shapes and then just knowing where the shapes are and how they relate to one another, if that makes any sense. Getting back to C sharp standard, that's a tongue twister, C sharp standard land. That's always like my go-to when I'm in C sharp, like to make sure, or that's how I know I'm in C sharp standard. I play those two riffs. Anyway, now if I did the same sweet little nothing, make up that melody using F sharp minor and A major, but now in C sharp standard, I'm still going to do the same thing. I'm still going to use those landmarks and improvise. Etc. Kind of just making stuff up on the spot here. But basically, I'm just taking the same principles of, these are my two landmark spots, my major and my relative minor, for example. And no matter what tuning I'm in, I just keep the shapes the same. And now, I honestly don't even know what notes I'm playing. If I was in standard tuning, I think I could figure it out, right? But now that I'm in C sharp standard, I have no idea what the notes are. And I don't even care, because I'm too focused on the pattern that I'm playing. Not to mention that these notes and these improvisations that I'm making, these silly little lines that I'm just, drilling myself with for the sake of this video, it's not even metal. I mean, at its core, metal is, like, it's heavy, dude. It's riffs, it's chugs, it's, intensity, all the above. So don't get too fixated and caught up on what the notes are. Just play the intervals that are going to sound good and convey the message you're trying to convey from your head into your hands to the listener, to the audience, okay? All right, now we're in drop D land now. That's my go-to drop D riff, that and Laid to Rest by Lamb of God. Anyway, now we're in drop D land. This is my favorite, like, I don't know what to say, like my favorite creative starting point, I guess we'll say, because I always play in some form of a drop tuning, whether it's drop F, drop C sharp, drop D every now and again, drop A on a 7-string, etc. I'm always in some sort of drop, and it's for the obvious. As a metal player, what we like to do is use one finger and create power chords. That's why we drop tune, that's why we drop tune, because rather than using 2 fingers to create a power chord, we can use 1 finger to create the power chord. So anyway, getting back to A major, if I'm in drop D, all of my standard work, mastering standard tuning, does not just go out the window all of a sudden. Everything's still here, everything's still the same. The only thing I have to do is just alter 1 string. So again, going back to A major started on the 5th fret in standard tuning. Now it starts on the 7th fret on the D string now. And then just everything else is where it was originally. Same scale, I just got to do a cool guy little dance, go back 2 frets really fast at the drop of a hat. But apart from that, everything else is still the same. Now, as a metal player, we more often than not drop tune to whatever we want to hear as our low note. Like, why does somebody tune down to drop A sharp? Like, why are we so specifically in A sharp, for example? Well, it's because more often than not, you probably love the chug of the A sharp. Most metal riffs are started and finished with an open of some capacity, generally speaking. Like, that's the bread and butter of a metal riff. It starts with some sort of open 0 chug. Like I said, generally speaking. Maybe not all the time, but quite frequently. So we tune down to whatever tuning and whatever open chug we feel like pleasing and or necessary for the song that we're about to create. But anyway, generally speaking, whatever you're tuned to, that's usually going to be your key signature of some capacity. For example, I'm in D. Generally speaking, my song is going to be in some form of D. The common ones would be D major and D minor. So a D major scale is just open 2, 4, 5, 7, 9, 11, 12. Whole step, half step, whole step, half step. D major. D minor is open 2, 3, 5, 7, 8, 10, 12. Now you notice I'm automatically subconsciously just started playing power chords rather than individual notes. And that's just kind of to speed up the process of this video, and the fact that or at least I am using those landmarks as like my riff writing landmarks. Like I use open 2, 4, 5, 7, 9, 11, 12 all the time. I write in a very kind of major-y type of sound. I kind of write in a very major, kind of upbeat type of sound, especially on a standard tune 6-string, or like, not a drop F riff, you know what I mean? Anyway, I'm going to play a very simple, cheesy, cliche D minor drop tune riff in drop D on this guitar right now, okay? Etc. All I'm doing is very, like I said, very simplistic. Open 2, 3, 5, 7, and 8. Those are the only frets that I'm using. Kind of has that, Omerta, Lamb of God type of sound, right? But now, all of a sudden, using my drop pedal, ooh, we're in drop B now. Sound familiar? Using that same riff, it's just, Notice I made a mistake there. That was a happy accident. I made a mistake. I went up to the 9th fret instead of the 8th fret. It sounded wrong because I was letting the listener know, hey, I'm in B minor because I'm in drop B right now. To slow down here, not to be kind of bouncing back and forth like a madman that my brain works, my ADHD, trying to slow down and convey my message here in this video is that when you drop tune and down tune, in my opinion, don't be so fixated on what the actual notes are that you're playing. Be more interested in the intervals and the distance between your notes and or your riffs and your chords, all the above, because that's what's going to convey the emotion. You know, intervals are used to convey emotion in music. Happy, you know, you use like a perfect fifth or an octave. Sad, minor second, tritone, angry, evil, tritone, whatever. So don't be so fixated on when you're drop tuning. Don't be like, oh, is this a C sharp? What is this, an F, an E? It doesn't matter, because what I recommend is that you spend so much time in standard tune land and or drop D land, because then when it's time to, you know, put on your guitar and be your creative outlet and create what you want to hear that is pleasing to you when you want to write, then you can just use the shapes and the formulas and the patterns and the relationship between notes on whatever scale and or tuned guitar you want to use. It doesn't matter. The relationship between the notes and the distance between the notes is all the same in standard as it is on, say, whatever drop tune guitar you want to use. The scale patterns, the distance between notes, the intervals, all the above doesn't change when you change the tuning of your guitar. The only thing that changes is the literal note. So be more fixated on the intervals in standard tuning and how they, you know, interact with other scales and other patterns and how they connect. Because once you master standard tuning, guess what? All the patterns and the shapes that you know connect in standard tuning will do the same thing in whatever drop tuning and or down tuning, you know, scale and or tuning of your guitar that you're in. Again, the only thing you have to watch out for is the cool guy little dance between standard tuning and drop tuning in a 3-note per string scale pattern, for example. So everybody, this has been a long video. I didn't expect it to be this way, but I just got really passionate about this subject, and I just hope you guys took something from this video and learned something from it. I'm very passionate about theory, and it's really just not that hard to stop overthinking it and complicating it and just hit the books in standard, man. You know, it's like, unfortunately, standard tuning is the only way that I can recommend learning theory and getting better at it. So with that being said, everybody, hope you enjoyed this video. If you found it informational and educational, you want to consider subscribing and or supporting me, I'd really, really appreciate it. Yeah, if you want to hit that like button and comment, all the YouTube stuff, I'd appreciate it. But anyway, man, I'm going to get out of here. Thank you guys so much for watching. Stay safe, stay healthy, and stay metal, and I'll see you guys next time. Later.